Yep.
And this is features. Okay.
Beautiful.
So when I'm meeting with the client, all I do, if what they're asking for is not realistic because they haven't been able to identify 3 houses,
Yep.
I say to them, all right, don't worry. This happens a lot. There's a lot of times when I'm talking to families and it feels, because they're overwhelmed. You
Yeah.
need to normalize the fact that they're not seeing what they want, because that can be frustrating. But it's more common that that's the case than not, right?
Agreed.
Then you simply go back to your very detailed needs analysis. And because you're an expert in the marketplace, you know what feature is going to unlock more options for them.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So is it the price that they need to shift? And that's where I usually start. So as an example, in the data that you see for the last 90 days, let's imagine that they told you that their price range was up to 500,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But all of the options that matched were between 750 and 900.
Yeah, sure.
You would start out by just making the statement, all right, what I'm noticing, Russ, you had mentioned that you wanted to keep your budget around 700,000.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be worth it to you to spend an extra $350 a month to get exactly what you want? Or would you like to consider other options and look at factors we could tweak with your criteria to keep you closer to your budget? What would be more important?
Right. So because we get people to say, but here's the thing. You started off right out of the gate. And I want to make sure everybody's clear on this. You get really clear on what their needs are and what they really want to have before you talk about any of the rest of the stuff, including price and including specific features, because then I can go back to say, if you had the dream, what does that look like? And then you can redirect them back to what's important to them and help them sort through, okay, so that was your dream, but that, like we always say, champagne taste on a beer budget, right? So,
yes.
So that doesn't mean we can't increase the budget, right? And there's times when people will go from beer budget to somewhere in between, right?
Many times. If you talk to them in a monthly payment and you say, hey, if you had to increase your payment by X, would it be worth it? There's so many times where they will say, I'd be willing to do that because I'm not going to leave Clarendon or because I want to be in Arlington, right? They want what they want. And many times when they're telling you their budget, they don't even understand necessarily what it means. So one other quick tip, in the process of the buyer presentation, okay? In the process of the buyer presentation, we have a slide that talks about using a trusted lender partner.
Yes.
In that moment, we conference our lender partner in. Why? Well, we can't do the reality check analysis without having 4 pieces of information. 4, okay? You have to understand what the maximum qualification is for the client. You have to understand what that is in terms of the price and also the monthly payment. So factor 1, price, factor 2, monthly payment. Okay.
And most people dream and live in monthly payment. Like $350. If you could get them $350,000 house and it's a $1,200 payment, they're like done. The $1,200 is the thing that they care about. The other numbers it's nefarious to them for the most part.
Right. And what they are trained to talk to a real estate agent about is $500,000.
Yeah.
But yet they don't know what that means in terms of a payment. And if you don't bridge that gap, you're not doing your job well. Right?
I think the first person that opens up a website that says, we're just searching by payment only, and then the houses pop up that fit that payment because they factored in all the other things, that would be the most brilliant. Oh, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Somebody might see this and do it. Anyway, but that's the way people search. Why are we searching based on price when everybody needs to know by payment? Because that's what we understand. Brilliant.
100%.
Brilliant. So I love the circle thing. I really like the way you break that down and say, based on the information you told me, we're over here, so how do we get it back into the circle? We're going to have to adjust one of these to get it back in the circle.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make sense to them. So here's what we need, and how do we get back in the circle? We're going to have to adjust something so we get back in there. So it's brilliant. I love that.
And I have an entire training just on the reality check analysis and how we do it. And I was on... I think it was a podcast with Kyle Whistle. And I was so impressed because EXP agents take action. I'm on podcasts all the time and I say, hey, I have this course. I'll give it to you for free. And you know how many people reach out to me and say they want the course?
Yes.
I was on this podcast for the first time with EXP, and I get all these people that are like, I want the course. I love that.
So you're saying hit you up on Facebook.
Yeah, just send me a message. My team will follow up with you. You'll literally get the access. I want you guys to learn and succeed because we're all in this together, right? If you guys do better, we all do better. It's great.
I love that. So last time we talked, we've only got a couple minutes left here. We're going to do speed version of this. How do we kick buyers off the fence? You said you had a method for doing that.
I do. So pain over pleasure.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So can I go to my whiteboard again, Russ?
Yes, please.
I know we're going to run out of time.
Who do you think you're asking?
I mean, okay, here we go. So here is my little table.
Yes.
This chart is showing in my market rental rates. I don't know about you guys. In my market, rental rates are going up by about 15 to 20% per year.
Yes.
Okay, it's insane. And so we did this exercise the other day with my team, and I realized agents are not consistently showing clients numbers.
Right.
If you don't explain the numbers, they think in 1 year term. If they think in a 1 year term, they're missing the boat, because if they've been renting, you want to ask them, how long have you been renting? If they tell you, 7 years, but then they say, but I'm only going to rent for 1 more year. No, let's look at this in 5 year terms. If they say 7 years, you look at it in a 7 year term. Yep. Okay. Because you want to make it painful. So this example is based on somebody who's spending $2,000 in rent. Yep. And it's showing the amount of money in year 1 that they give up. But then the problem is most agents will just multiply this by 5 years, the amount of money. That's not how to think about it with the increases of the rate. So this chart, and I have a little spreadsheet, but I actually do it by hand because I like the clients to participate in the calculation with me. I ask them, can you do 115% of this to help me get the payment? And so this is just going through and showing year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Here's the total amount that they're spending, right? So the net loss is $161,806. It's insane, right?
So the technique that works really great with that you just said, and I want to make sure everybody caught this, you make them say it out loud. You make them grab their phone and tell them, okay, take this times 1.15. And what is that number? And make them say it out loud, because if you don't make them type it and make them say it, it's your numbers. It's not their numbers. So making them say it makes it theirs.
Exactly. We have a lender, by the way, that has all of this in the spreadsheet. It's brilliant. It shows them the appreciation they can make. It shows them the rental loss. It's not as impactful as you doing it with them in a little chart where they help you calculate the numbers. When they participate in coming up with the numbers, they're real.
Yes.
When some spreadsheet tells them, hey, you're going to lose 160 grand, they're like, yeah, right.
So you would say this sums it up. Show them, don't tell them.
Yes.
Show them, don't tell them. Use their numbers. Practice it with a couple people a couple of times. So when somebody says 1,800, you already know the math. It's like, mine's $1,800 a month. Okay, we'll take $1,800 a month times 12. And by the way, here's what's been going on in your market, and here's what the total is. Jerry, but what if house prices go down? Well, if it goes down less than $161,000 in the next 5 years, you're still ahead.
Well, and absolutely. And what if it goes up? Because guess what?
Yes.
Ross, you're nervous right now because interest rates are higher than what you're used to, right? So are other buyers. So what's going to happen if interest rates go down? Prices are going to go up, right? So if we just look at the historical average, and I just did this exercise with a group of agents today on a call. Yeah. We looked at the $2,000 rent that someone was spending. We looked at a property that's similar to what they would buy. What was it worth?
Yes.
5 years ago. Oh. Here's what we found. It had gone up an average of 8.6% per year. So then you want to take what the client is looking at today, and you want to increase the price 8.6%. Year over year, the same thing. It's got to be, you calculate the 1 year, then you calculate the next year, and then we added it up. That was $186,000 in a $500,000 property of additional equity if the current projected just held. So you want to use facts, have them help you look in the MLS, find the property that's similar, right? Yep, this looks the same. Okay, let's look at what this was worth 5 years ago when it sold. You find the property and you use actual statistics and math. That's it.
Yeah. So the fun part is everybody's talking about AI. So Carrie, here's real numbers from Michigan. 5 years ago, 160,000 was a median sales price. Now this calls all of southeastern Michigan. Now, there are some cities that are way higher than that. This is the whole southeastern Michigan, and currently it's 240,000. So I go into ChatGPT. This is a great use for it. Watch this. I hit on my number. The house price was $160,000, and now it is $240,000. What is the increase percentage? You don't even have to know math. All you got to do is hit the send button, and ChatGPT pulls it together, and it'll spit me back an answer and tell me exactly what that percentage is. So, and it shows me how to calculate it. Because, guys, a lot of us realtors don't know how to calculate super great. By the way, the house price has increased by 50% in the last 5 years. So if you're worried about losing 10, you just lost 50. How many more years do you want to do that? Right? Use ChatGPT for stuff like that. And that can tell you, by the way, what your market stats are, too, if you ask it.
So smart. I love it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we got to wrap up. It's already been 30 minutes. We got to get rocking and rolling. I could talk to you for 10 more hours. We'll just fly into town. We'll just hang out and play on the whiteboard all day and crank out videos of cool stuff like this.